Tonight, a damning report. Cricket Scotland is placed in special measures after a review reveals hundreds of examples of institutional racism, from players to grassroots.
What happened to me has been extremely upsetting and difficult for my family, especially my parents and grandparents who are sadly no longer with us. Playing cricket and performing at the highest level for Scotland meant everything to me.
Also tonight, as the cost of living crisis deepens, we're travelling coast to coast for a week of special coverage to hear your stories.
I'm in Greenock, the most deprived area in Scotland, finding out how people here are coping.
And is Glasgow calling? The city sets its sights on hosting the next Eurovision Song Contest. I'm John Mackay in Glasgow.
And I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Inverclyde. This is the STV News at 6.
Good evening. Institutionally racist. That's the damning verdict placed on Cricket Scotland today in a report that alleged racist behaviour was often brushed off as banter. An independent review has recommended that the governing body is placed in special measures by Sport Scotland after 448 examples of institutional racism were revealed. Ollie Dickinson has more.
Former Scotland players Majid Haq and Kazim Sheikh were amongst the first to speak out about what they alleged was a racist culture within the sport in Scotland. Today, those allegations were vindicated with a damning 52-page report clearly stating that Cricket Scotland is institutionally racist.
We heard the words that Cricket Scotland was institutionally racist. That was a big relief. Some people say, is that being a happy moment? I wouldn't say it is a happy, because we shouldn't be, in 2022, we shouldn't be thinking that racism still exists in this day and age. Obviously, it's going to take a long time for that to eradicate, but for me it was a massive relief to see that the investigation has come on the right side for us.
The report lays bare the vast scale of the problems. Cricket Scotland was told it needs to value diversity, and none of the 5 member associations could think of anything it was doing well for equality and diversity. Some of the 448 incidents have been referred to the police, with one person already appearing in court. And one club even charged Asian players higher fees because they didn't drink at the bar. Despite today's findings, Sport Scotland, the national agency for sport, say now isn't the time for an apology.
Would it not be better simply for yourselves and for Cricket Scotland to say the word sorry to Majid Haq and Kazim Sheikh?
I've spoken to Kazim on numerous occasions. We'll work through the process and the information, and of course, if there's an apology required, if that comes from Cricket Scotland or it has to come from us, then we will take that on. But I would want that process to work its way through.
Yesterday, the entire board of Cricket Scotland resigned. Its new chief executive acknowledges it will take time to rebuild trust in the sport's governing body.
The scale of the issues around racial and other discrimination is shocking. It will be shocking, I think, to everybody. And we need to repair the sport and rebuild from here to make sure that we build a better sport that's welcoming for everybody. And we need to do that as quickly as we can.
Majid and Kasim's careers are over. The last decade, they say, has been almost unbearable. Their hope is that no one has to go through the same things they've experienced.
Well, Ollie joins us now, and Ollie, a shocking report.
I think a lot of people expected a strong report, John, a lot of people who've been following this story, but this goes well beyond that. To put it into perspective, we're talking about 68 individual concerns have had to be referred for further action. They include 31 allegations of racism against 15 people, 2 clubs and 1 regional association. Now, the allegations include racial abuse, the use of inappropriate language, favouritism towards white children from private schools, and a lack of a transparent selection process process. Now, to put into perspective the scale of the problem, the report looked at 31 ways of measuring if an organisation was institutionally racist. If they weren't, the measures would be put in green. If they were, it would be put in red. This is Cricket Scotland's report. They failed on 29 of the 31 measures.
So where does the sport go from here?
Well, Cricket Scotland has been placed into special measures until October 2023 to give Sport Scotland an oversight. They've been told they must appoint a new diverse board with 25% of its members as black, Asian or ethnic minority members, and they've also been told they need to appoint an anti-racism and diversity manager.
Ollie, thank you for that. Now, Kellyanne is not in her usual place in Edinburgh this evening. This week she's travelling around the country, and tonight we join her in Inverclyde to explain why.
Thanks, John, and good evening from a very sunny Gourock for a series of week-long coverage on the cost of living crisis and how it's affecting communities right across Scotland. Inflation is at a 40-year high. The price of food, fuel and energy is squeezing household incomes to a level not seen since the early 1980s, and it's looking increasingly like we're heading for a recession. Well, we've commissioned a special Scot Pulse survey for STV News, and it's showing us that many of you now feel that this crisis is impacting on your lives one way or another. We'll have more on those findings very shortly. But over the course of this week, we will be looking at various aspects of the cost of living crisis, how it's making you feel, how you eat, how you care for your families, and how you make ends meet. We are travelling right across the Central Belt, coast to coast. We're starting here in Inverclyde, then we'll be moving to Glasgow, Falkirk, Edinburgh, and then finishing in Fife on Friday. We'll also be asking the UK and Scottish governments what they're doing to help ease the pain. Now, we're here in Inverclyde, a beautiful part of the West Coast which has historic links to shipbuilding and industry. But neighbourhoods here are actually within the most deprived council area across Scotland. So people here will be finding it very tough in the coming months. We'll be looking at the financial strain and how it's affecting mental health in the area. Well, our reporter Susan Ripple has been out and about in the community to see how people are coping.
It's easy to see how people get lost in the plants here. Everything has been grown by volunteers who've experienced mental health issues. It's changed many lives, including Fiona's.
Right from the word go, I just felt that this was the place I needed to be at the time.
Fiona's experienced recurrent depression since the 1990s and was referred here by the Inverclyde mental health team. It's been particularly helpful for her in recent times, with the cost of living crisis having an impact on her life. She doesn't get enough money in her pension to pay tax, but also doesn't qualify to receive benefits, which means she can struggle financially.
When I'm here, I'm not thinking about, what's the gas bill going to be next month, what's the electricity going to be next month. My biggest fear would be that the cost of living has put a lot of places out of business. This place functions as a business as well as a charity to make enough money. If this place went, I don't know what I would do, and I don't know what other people would do that come here.
4 miles away in Port Glasgow, this place is also making a difference. These volunteers are preparing for another busy day. Unlike a food bank, locals can come along to this pantry and choose what they'd like for a small fee. Jane was embarrassed the first time she came, but feels differently now. Coming here is one of a number of adjustments she's had to make to get by.
I've actually done away with my cooker, and I just bought an 8-in-1 oven because with a cooker, you're putting it all on for one person. So there's no point in having it, and I bought an air fryer too, which I found really handy. Saves a lot of electricity as well.
And families in the area are also struggling to make ends meet during the holidays. This is a summer play scheme for local children. Keeping young ones entertained can be particularly challenging, especially with activities being costly. For the first time this year, the council's funding these programmes so everyone can enjoy having fun with their friends for free.
You get to play lots of games, and You get like practice system that you don't even know, and like you learn new games and you have lots of fun.
Done this last year as well, so but I just think it's really fun. I just enjoy getting to see friends, like having new friends as well, and getting to play games and stuff.
These kind of programmes are helping for now, although locals can't help but look ahead to the winter. The uncertainty of what's to come brings with it more anxiety than many will have ever experienced before. Well, that play scheme that you saw towards the end of my report there really has made a huge difference to families in the area here. But it was later on, it wasn't until very close to the start of the summer holidays that there was confirmation that everyone was going to be entitled to free places at those play schemes. Well, I'm joined now by the Deputy Leader of Inverclyde Council, Councillor Natasha Maguire. Obviously, that's made a huge difference for families here. Will you be doing the same thing again next year?
We can't guarantee that we'll be doing the same thing next year because of budget pressures that we've got, but we have obviously recognised that for this summer that something needed to be done and that action needed to be taken quickly, so that's why we made the amendment to the play scheme for families this summer. So that was June that we passed that, after feedback from constituents about the pressures that they're facing.
I mean, you know, the winter obviously is coming up. Nothing's going to get easier.
No.
Surely you could be looking ahead already to try and kind of ease the pressure on families.
Yes, we are trying to look ahead at what we can do. So we've got various initiatives such as we offer free sanitary products, we offer free gym and swimming access for families, and we've also offered other things through the Summer of Fun. What we're hoping to do is we're hoping to set a budget that will use our resources to the best of our ability to help serve the people of Inverclyde, but we are finding that really hard without getting a better settlement from the Scottish Government.
I mean, I appreciate it's difficult to figure out these budgets, but how does it make you feel when, you know, like Fiona in my piece there, you know, she's struggling for the cost of a haircut, and, you know, she worked all her life, and in retirement now she can't get a haircut.
It's harrowing stories, and that's just one of many stories. And for Fiona, that haircut, some people might think that a haircut's a luxury, but actually it can help people maintain their mental well-being. It's a social element. It's just part of taking pride in how you're looking. But for other families, the choice isn't between a haircut or not, and it's not to minimise at all Fiona's story, because it's horrific that as somebody who's provided for the community so much that she can't get that haircut, but other families are choosing between food and they're choosing between petrol for their car or heating in their homes.
And that's it. And, you know, the winter coming up, that's only become more and more of a worry for people. Kellyanne.
All right, Susan, thanks very much. Well, I've now moved to a different part. I'm now down by the Gurrock outdoor pool, and I'm joined by our political correspondent, Ewan Petrie. Thanks for joining us, Ewan. I mentioned the survey earlier. It is just a snapshot, but we had a great response rate, and it really does give a sense of how people are feeling.
It does, and it's difficult to overstate just how much people are struggling to feed their families, to make ends meet, to pay their bills, to heat their homes. And I think we did have such a huge response to this Scott Pulse survey. I think that points to the fact that this is a major issue for so many people. So let's just take a look through some of the key findings in that report. More than 8 out of 10 of those who responded agreed that the current cost of living crisis has had an impact on their lives. The 3 most worrying expenses are energy bills, fuel and food. But perhaps even more striking is that more than half said this is the most financially insecure they've ever felt, and just under half said they've had to cut back on daily essentials, with food the item they've cut back on the most.
Worrying findings for sure, but how do people feel about the level of support which they're getting?
Well, this is an issue for governments across all levels. When it comes to the response of the UK government, more than 8 in 10 said they don't think they are doing enough to help, while 2/3 thought the Scottish Government could be doing more. Now, given the scale of this crisis, I don't think these figures are overly surprising. People who are struggling are unlikely to say they believe governments are doing enough. But what this does point to, I think, is that people are deeply worried about the future.
Indeed. All right, Ewan, thanks very much for joining us. We'll hear more from you later in the week. All right, well, as Ewan was saying there, many of us are now cutting back to make ends meet, but we're often told that exercise and fresh air is good for our mental health, and that's what we're talking about tonight. So let's have a quick chat with somebody here in the gym. Let's have a chat with the manager. Stuart, thanks very much for joining us live on the STV News at 6. We're talking about the cost of living crisis and mental health. We're here in the gym. It's very busy right now, but many people are struggling. How could they afford this?
Well, we try to be as affordable as we can. We offer a number of membership packages ranging from £10.70 per month at our Fitness for Less brands all the way. So we're trying to break down the barriers, as price is a barrier to exercise, and we believe that we offer something for everyone.
And what What's it like when people come in? Do you notice a real difference in their mental health or their moods, I suppose?
Oh, 100%. I mean, even tonight we're seeing here the sun's shining, people are coming in and saying, I come down here to train and look at the view across there, and they're not talking mainly about their physical health, it's their mental well-being and being out there, and it's a social thing as well, you know, being at the gym is a social thing, but people underestimate the mental health, especially after COVID and stuff.
Of course, that'll still be fresh in your mind. All right, Stuart, thanks very much for chatting to us. Let's have a little chat to some of the gym members now. Hi there.
Hi.
What's your name?
Sean.
Sean, sorry to interrupt your training there. We're just chatting about mental health and the cost of living. How important is gym membership to you?
Massive. It's massive from the physical health, but it's also huge for the mental health as well. And I noticed that particularly during the pandemic as well, gym membership is absolutely crucial to me.
Obviously money's tight, many of us are thinking about cutting back. Would you have ever cut back in the gym?
No, I mean money is tight, the cost of living is obviously putting a squeeze on individuals and families, but no, gym membership, absolutely not an issue.
Too important.
Too important.
All right, well look Sean, I'm going to leave you to get on with your workout there.
Thanks very much.
Well, don't forget, you can go onto the website for a more in-depth look about that Scott Pulse survey we were talking about. There's also reaction there as well. I'll be back later in the programme, but for now I'm going to hand you over to John for the rest of the day's news and sport.
Well, the moment, Kellyanne, thank you. Well, other stories across Scotland, and the cause of a hepatitis outbreak in young children is thought to have been found by scientists from Glasgow. Many youngsters were hospitalised, with one needing a liver transplant. Researchers say 2 new studies have now linked the acute hepatitis cases to a specific virus, with no evidence of a direct link to COVID-19.
There is an accompanying English study that has found very similar data. So hopefully this will kick off more testing and more research studies in order for us to kind of dig deeper into finding out the cause of this. But this, I think, is promising.
A rapist who attacked a vulnerable woman has been given a life sentence, but he will only serve a minimum of 3 years and 2 months before he can seek release, a judge has ruled. Just hours after Lars Pettersson's attack, Alison McAllister was found dead next to the Forth and Clyde Canal in Glasgow's Maryhill in 2018. Scotland's rail network is set to come to a standstill again on Wednesday because of strikes. Signallers and maintenance staff will walk out in the first of 3 days of industrial action. Just 5 routes in the Central Belt will continue to operate, but on a heavily reduced timetable. ScotRail say that passengers should only travel if necessary. And it comes as Glasgow Subway could be hit by 4 days of staff walkouts from next week. The first is scheduled for the 6th of August, the same day as Rangers' first home game of the new season. Union bosses say it's the last resort for hard-working and loyal staff who are frequently called in to work shifts at short notice. Now, Glasgow has launched its bid to host the Eurovision Song Contest after it was confirmed it will be coming to the UK next year. Ukraine were this year's winners, but the show's organisers have decided the event can't be held there safely because of the ongoing war with Russia. The Prime Minister says the UK, who came second, will pull out all the stops to celebrate the country and the people of Ukraine. Well, let's go to Catherine Sampson. And Catherine, could we be looking at a potential Eurovision venue behind you there?
Oh yes, hello John, Glasgow calling. Well, it might just be next year if this indeed comes to pass. Now, there is a situation, of course, where fans of the contest may remember the Hydro behind me here actually served as a fictional Eurovision venue in a film a few years ago. And there's a potential now that life imitates art. Glasgow City Council confirming they have launched their bid. They say they meet the technical requirements. They say Glasgow would be a safe pair of hands because it hosted COP26, of course, last year, and they say the city is ready to welcome the world. Well, earlier we asked people in the city if they would like to see the glittering competition come Clydeside.
I think it's good representation for the city.
Okay, Glasgow, best people in the world. Can you beat it?
I think Glasgow is very intercultural and very tolerant and open-minded, so I think it's the perfect kind of city to embody something like the Eurovision Song Contest, because essentially it's all about unity.
I've already been discussing with my friends our costumes, we're ready to go.
Well, before anyone is making their minds up, there is, of course, a full bidding process to go through in other cities. Aberdeen, Cardiff, Liverpool and London have all expressed just a little bit of interest. Now, of course, Scotland has only ever hosted Eurovision once. That was in Edinburgh back in 1972. Will we be able to rise like a phoenix from the ashes and deliver a fairy tale ending, or will our hopes be dashed with a boom, bang, a bang? We'll find out later this year.
Catherine, thank you, and well done. Full points to anyone who saw what Catherine was up to there. Now, we are going to Ronnie with the sport. Now, Ronnie, we've had a lot of big sporting events in Glasgow, but you're really excited about that.
Buzzing, John. Absolutely buzzing. Eurovision's coming home, folks. Come on, let's get it to Glasgow. We love it.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Yes, good evening. New Rangers signing Ridvan Yilmaz says he's relishing the prospect of joining a club the size of Rangers and is excited for the challenges ahead. The 21-year-old becomes the Ibrox club's 7th summer signing and joins on a long-term deal. The news comes as Giovanni Van Bronckhorst reveals Alfredo Morelos is very positive about signing a new contract at the club. The latest new face in the door at Ibrox. Turkish left-back Ridvan Yilmaz signs on a 5-year deal from Besiktas in a deal in the region of £5 million. Meanwhile, one man Giovanni Van Bronckhorst would like to keep at the club is Alfredo Morelos. As Ibrox opened its doors to supporters today for an open training session, the Rangers boss says the striker's very positive about a new deal. The Colombian is out of contract next summer, but the club are hopeful it can be sorted in a couple of weeks' time. And as they get set to head to Belgium next week for their third qualifying round tie against Union Saint-Gilloise, Scott Wright insists they're ready to make an impact in the Champions League.
Class ourselves as a strong team, and I'd class ourselves as a good European team. I think we showed that, as you say, the last few years. And obviously it's so different. Playing in the European games, obviously playing away from home, you're setting up differently, playing against different tactics, different formations and players, and I think we need to obviously go into the game feeling confident, which we are, and try and play the best game we can and see how we do.
With several new faces already in the door and the possibility of more signings, Wright says the squad's in great shape ahead of the new season.
We've signed a few boys now, and they're bringing that energy and freshness to the squad, which is great. I think it's always what you need, and I think we've done fantastic keeping kind of the core squad together already, in terms of Alan McGregor signing on and Stephen Davis and Scotty Arfield as well. I think they're so important in the changing room for the experience for the boys coming through.
Rangers travel to Livingston on Saturday on the opening day of the Premiership. Now, the Scottish Thistles will face Australia, the world's top-ranked netball team, in their first match at the Commonwealth Games this weekend. And new head coach Tasman Greenway says this tournament will be a stepping stone to closing the gap on bigger nations. Meanwhile, captain Claire Maxwell is preparing for her first major competition as a new mum, and she told Ivana Holland how she balances elite sport and motherhood.
3, 2, 1, yay!
From precious playtime with 15-month-old Lucy to captaining her country on court, Claire Maxwell's day is maxed out.
The day usually starts at 5:30 at times, so I can get a session in before this one wakes up, usually about 7 o'clock in the morning. So I get back for her wake up, make sure she's fed, and then head into Glasgow for work and come back, try and squeeze in another session if possible, or I might have a court session at night. And then bedtime routine.
With over 100 caps, the defender's looking forward to becoming the first Scottish netballer to play in the Commonwealth Games as a mum, and her daughter will be watching from the stands.
Yeah, I can't wait. She's got a cute little t-shirt that she's going to put on that says "Go Mummy," so hopefully I'll spot her in the crowd, and I'm really excited to have her there.
Until she's actually playing for Scotland herself in the future.
That's it, and it'll be role reversal.
Lucy's sure to be part of a new generation of fans the Scottish Thistles hope to inspire as they aim to maintain their 9th place world ranking in Birmingham.
I'm living proof of what it can do. I was in the crowd watching it 2014 games in Glasgow just with my mum, never thinking I was ever going to go to Commonwealth Games. 4 years later, went to the games, and now I'm getting to go to my second one, so I know the power it has, and so I really want to give back. And all those young girls who didn't have it at such a young age, I want them, so when their teacher asks them what they want to do, it's not a joke, it's I want to be a netballer, that's my career.
The Games will be the first time head coach Tamsin Greenway leads a national side in a major tournament, but she's also looking at the bigger picture that will see Scotland succeed more in future.
I'm really excited. This is the best you can get rather than being a player, right? So we've got immediate targets of this group that sit from probably 6th in the world down to 10th or 11th in the world that are really competing at each other. Like, how do you break away from them, and then how do you start closing the gap? Will that happen at this Commonwealth Games? Absolutely not. It's another stepping stone.
The young squad will face tough opposition in their pool, but they'll bring home experience and maybe a few bruises. Who said netball is non-contact? Ivana Holland, STV News.
That's all your sport tonight.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Now Philip has the weather forecast.
A light drizzle is coming in from the west. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Well, it's a gradually improving picture as we head through the rest of this evening and overnight. To begin with, there are still some showers around, but there's also some early evening sunny spells. Eventually, through the night, those showers will filter away, becoming confined mostly to the coast. Further inland, a dry night to come with some clear skies. So that allows temperatures to drop away. We'll be feeling a little bit chillier than previous nights, lows of around 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Looking ahead to tomorrow morning, a cool start to the day after the chilly night that we've had, and then through the morning we see some further showers spreading in from the north and west, and there's the risk that those will become fairly widespread through the course of the afternoon. But between the showers there will be some decent sunny spells, and in the best of the brightness, temperatures reaching highs of around 17 or 18 degrees Celsius, which is on average for the time of year. Looking ahead to Wednesday, we've got high pressure centre directly above the country dominating our weather, so overall a fine and dry day to come, with plenty of sunny spells through the course of the afternoon. Temperature wise, for the likes of Glasgow and Edinburgh, highs of 19 or 18 degrees Celsius. Further north though, feeling a little bit cooler still, highs of 15 or 16. By Thursday, the high pressure is starting to slip further north and eastwards, so overall it will be a cloudier day to come, but the temperatures are continuing to rise, highs of 20, possibly 21. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
That's all from me this evening. Let's go back to Kellyanne in Guruk.
Thanks, John. Well, you're stuck in the studio, John, and I am out at the pool. Well, the sun is out, and so too are the swimmers. We've been learning all about the importance of exercise during the cost of living crisis. Let's have a chat with some of the swimmers. Ladies, you're here every day. Why?
Oh, it's just a great place to be. I make time in my day each day to come along. It just makes me feel so well.
So you clearly think this is important for your mental health?
As soon as I get in that water, I can feel my serotonin levels going up because it just feels so fantastic.
Feels so good, and you agree too?
Oh, totally. I come here after a hard day's work, feeling really tired, and it just totally revitalises you. It's so good for your well-being.
Well, look, ladies, I'm going to let you go. Get on with your swim. And that is all from us here in Inverclyde. We'll continue our cost of living tour tomorrow when we're at a Glasgow bakeries. But from all of us here in the ground in Guruk and from our news teams, it's good night for now.